Everyone, this is Michelle with Designs by JuJu, and in today's video tutorial, I am going to be teaching you how you can make Christmas ornaments using the new In the Hoop Santa's Reindeer wall hanging Christmas decoration. This is a brand new release for November 2024, and if you have not had a chance to check it out, oh my goodness, you are in store for something absolutely adorable. But here at Designs by JuJu, we like to show you how you can really stretch the design capabilities of our products by using them in new and creative ways. So we recently had a comment on our Facebook post of this brand new design, and someone asked if you could make ornaments using these images. And you are in luck, you definitely can. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do that. So this video is going to be broken up into two parts. The first part is going to be a quick little tutorial on how you can use Embrilliance to remove some of the unnecessary images from the wall hanging. And then the second part is actually going to be stitching and creating the ornament. So this first part with Embrilliance is not a required step. If you do not have an embroidery software or Embrilliance, you do not need to purchase it. We do love Embrilliance here at Designs by JuJu, but it's not necessary. Most of these steps can be completed with your embroidery machine. So for my portion of the tutorial here, this first part, I'm going to be using Embrilliance Essentials to show you just how easy it is to customize this design to make it work for you on your machine. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I already have my Embrilliance Essentials pulled up, and I have loaded my 5x5 dancer block onto my 5x7 hoop background. So I am going to be altering this. I'm going to be removing some of the images that I don't need. Now, since this is a wall hanging, there are lots of steps included that are not necessary for my ornament. If you are making this as a wall hanging, you do not want to do this step. You do not want to remove any of the stitches because that will alter the overall effect of that image. But for the purpose of my ornament tutorial, I am going to remove some of these images. So I've already loaded it, like I said, into my Embrilliance Essentials. I've got my 5x7 hoop pulled up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my Objects tab over here on the right, and I'm going to click on this plus, and that's going to drop down and show all of the stitch steps for this 5x5 dancer block. And you can see here that there are 39 stitch steps. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to go back up to the front here at the top, and I am going to click on the first step. All of these first beginning steps, like I said, are placement and tack down stitches for the actual quilting block itself when you're making this as a wall hanging. So I'm going to scroll down just a bit, and then I'm going to hold my shift key on my keyboard, and I'm going to select through design 16, through stitch step 16, I should say. And then I'm also going to click on, with my control key, I'm going to click on stitch step 19. And those are all steps that are part of the motif backdrop of the quilt block. And then on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the delete, and that's going to remove that. So all I'm left with in the middle here is my adorable dancer. I'm going to just zoom that in so you can see it. It is absolutely precious. Oh my goodness. So I've got the middle image that was on the dancer 5x5 block. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to the side again. So now when I go over to my stitch simulator, you'll be able to see what stitch steps I'm left with. So the first step now is going to be what would have been a tack down for some applique fabric. I am going to go ahead and leave that as my first initial step because I'm going to use that as the placement line on my stabilizer for my ornament fabric. I'm going to be using some felt. You'll see that later in the stitching portion of our tutorial, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that as my first stitch on my ornament. Now the second stitch, if I fast forward here just a little bit, is this beautiful decorative stitch that's in red here. And I actually want to move this second stitch here on the side. I'm going to move that to be my last step. So to do that, I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to drag it clear down to the bottom. And this can take a little bit of practice. You kind of have to get creative. There it goes. So I'm going to drag it clear down to the bottom. And I want it to be my last step. So now it's going to be stitch step 22. So let's run this just so you can see it again. I'm still on Stitch Simulator. So here's going to be my placement line for my felt. That's going to stitch on my stabilizer. And then here's all of my decorative stitches. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. I'll run all of these. And then my black stitching. And then right before I do my final red stitch, I'm going to be adding my ornament hook and then also my back felt fabric, which you'll see when we get over to the sewing machine. Okay, so now that I have this portion of the tutorial done, I'm going to go ahead and save this image. Now I want to make a copy of this. I do not want to save over my original 5x5 dancer block, because if I want to go back and make the wall hanging, I'm going to need those steps that I deleted out. So I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to save it to my USB, and then I'm going to go over to my embroidery machine and start stitching this here in just a bit. So we are good to go. I'm going to make a copy, and then I will meet you over at my machine.
All right, now that we have our design saved onto our USB, we're ready to head over to our machine. So I'm over here at my embroidery machine, and like I said, I already saved my 5x5 dancer block onto my machine with just the middle motif that I want to stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that initial placement line that I talked about. Now, if you do not have software like I talked about in the first portion of the video on your machine, just skip those initial steps and jump down to where that first, well, it would be the second placement line, the second tack down line for the applique fabric that I showed you earlier. So that's where I'm going to start at. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that first line and we will get started. All right, so the first placement line is stitched. You can see I have an oval here for my ornament, and I am using a tear away stabilizer. That way, when I'm finished with my ornament, I can just tear away all of this excess. You could use a sticky backed tear away stabilizer or just a traditional, either works fine. Okay, so I have my placement line, what I'm calling a placement line, stitched, and then I'm going to take my felt. I'm using a sparkly felt here. It's got a little bit of glitter in it. I'm going to take my felt and I'm going to cover that entire placement line, and then I'm going to secure it using some medical tape. Once I have this done, I'm going to run all of those decorative stitches that I showed you on my stitch simulator on Embrilliance. That would be the reindeer, the star, the ornament, all of the pieces that are the design elements. And then once I'm done with that, I'll pop back in and we'll be ready for the final part. Okay, so I have just stitched all of my design elements. Let me remove it from my machine so you can see how cute this dancer is. Oh my goodness, he is absolutely adorable. He's so cute. Okay, so now we're ready to get down to the nitty-gritty of the ornament. So the front side of the ornament is complete. Now it is time to attach the back side of the ornament as well as a hook so that you can hang this on your tree. So what I'm going to do here, I have some really cute sparkly green here, some little ribbon that I'm going to use as the hook portion. So let me get that here, the piece that I want to use. And then I am also going to be attaching another piece of felt on the back side to help secure my, well, to complete my ornament. Okay, so I'm going to take my hoop off of my machine and flip it over to the back side. So here is all of the back of my stabilizer. This is on the back of my hoop. The first thing I'm going to do is take my ribbon, whatever I'm using. If you're using ribbon, yarn, string, whatever you have, and I'm going to make just a little hook. And this can be however long you need it to be for your tree. This is going to be kind of a variable for you to decide. And I'm going to place it on the back of my hoop here. Decide where you want it to be. So this red, that's the initial placement line that we did for our felt. So that's where the final stitch is going to be going around. So you can see this will be the top of my ornament. So I can position my thread, well, my ribbon exactly how I want it. And then I'm just going to use some medical tape to secure it right here in the middle. And I'll trim away this excess. Then before I put my hoop back on my machine, I'm going to take another piece of felt and I'm going to lay it on top, make sure it completely covers that placement line. And again, I'm going to secure it with some medical tape because this is just easy to remove. If it stitches over it, it tears with no problem. It's no issues. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I will pop it back on my machine here in just a second. Okay, I have my felt secured. I have my ribbon looping up here at the top. And I also secured the top with just a little bit of medical tape too, so that it doesn't get caught in the stitch path in any way. And you can see my felt on the back is also secured with some tape. All right, so let's let it back on our machine. And we're going to run that final decorative stitch. Now again, if you don't have software for this portion and you're just using your design, your machine capabilities, you will want to kind of finagle this a little bit and go back to the beginning. If this is only if you did not use Embrilliance, you want to go back to the beginning and stitch this beautiful stitching around the edges. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Reference the first part of the video to see what I'm talking about, but I am going to be stitching that red gorgeous stitching that goes all the way around the reindeer motif. And I'm going to be using a fun variegated thread. You can use whatever you would like for this. If you want to use a metallic thread, that's what I'm trying to say. All right, let's get it stitched. Okay, my machine has just finished that decorative stitching all the way around the reindeer. And it is so cute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I am going to remove this ornament from my tearaway stabilizer. And it should remove relatively easy because this stitching that we just did helps to perforate the tearaway. So let me get this out of my hoop and we'll move on to the next step. All right, I have just removed all of the tearaway stabilizer from my ornament, and you can see how clean that stitches away. There's nothing here in between my felts. It's just nice and clean. So now we are ready to trim around the ornament. There are two options you could do here for your trimming. You could use some pinking shears if you'd like, which are always fun and give a really cute edging to your design, or you could just use a traditional straight edge. You can see here that you want to have some excess felt around your design. So if you are using pinking shears, or depending on how much edging you want around your ornament, you may want to use a larger piece of felt. This will be perfect for my ornament, but again, your ornament may be different if you want a little bit more of an edge. I just kind of wanted to focus on this beautiful stitching that I did, but that's totally personal preference. So keep that in mind. You may want to cut a little bit larger piece of felt if you are wanting an edging. Now, the key thing to remember as you start to trim this is you do not want to cut your yarn or your ornament hook that you attached here. So when you do that, when you start to trim, when you get up to the top, you'll want to fold the front forward and the back forward, and you'll want to pull that piece towards the back as you trim around. That way you don't end up cutting it. That will help you to keep it out of the way. And then you'll do the same when you go on the back side. You'll flip it forward and you'll trim the front piece to match the back side. Okay, so let me trim this up and we'll have our finished product roll. And look how cute it looks. You can see that adorable edging, and the stitch detail is impeccable on this design. It is absolutely adorable. So I'm gonna hang this on my own tree. You could make multiple and string them together for a precious garland. That would be super cute too. So make sure that you join the Designs by JuJu Facebook blessing group. We've been having a lot of fun over there with everyone's creativity and all of the cute designs and special things people have been making this holiday season. So we hope that you'll join us over there, and happy stitching, everyone.